strength of those who attack is measured by the opposition they require, and all growth requires a mighty opponent, said Friedrich Nietzsche when he was talking about strong thinkers that he called warlike philosophers. If Nietzsche was right, and he was, then who is the biggest weakling, or at least the archetype of the weakest thinker in the modern age? It's the Red Pill podcast, bro. Undeniably, the weakest individual in the public space is the red pill or black pill. To be completely honest, I'm not making too big of a distinction because all of them have, to some extent, the same goal in mind, and that is to pull other men down with themselves. Not to help men or to advocate for certain values. No, those are only tools in disguise for pulling other men down with themselves because they hate life and they hate themselves and they are weak. Because a man who rents a podcast studio and brings 6 or 7 unfortunate women in that studio, or let's explore and explain the idea of the unfortunate woman. 6 or 7 young women who have obviously been mistreated and misled in life and have made, due to different circumstances and different factors, a series of decisions that led them to the point where they are deemed as not worthy of respect. Well, I'm not going to be their advocate in this video. That's another discussion. And I do think they deserve an actual intellectual voice to stand beside them, if not behind them. But again, I'm not taking on that role right now. I'm just taking on the role of pointing out that weak men, who should rightfully be called losers, have gained a platform or have gained an audience on the digital space, in the digital space, where they are expressing their weakness in a way that is often successfully masked as controversial thinking. There is nothing controversial about a loser man trying to put women down, but only those women that he can put down because in some ways he stands above them by the society's standards. However, his goal is not just to enact his revenge on women because he didn't get enough attention in the past. It's not just getting revenge on women. He has to get his revenge on other men. That is the part that a lot of people are missing. He has to get revenge on other men who have had better experiences with women. How can he do that? Well, he cannot actually bring down men who have more successful and fulfilling lives than him. So what he can do to enact his revenge on men as a whole, because he didn't get what he wanted, he can pull other men down with him, those men who are vulnerable, who are confused, who are lost. And let's say, yes, men who have been mistreated. I will be first to admit, for a long time I've been judgmental of men who are so naive to fall for the ideology of the red pill, black pill, sigma, mega, giga masculinity gurus and podcast bros. But I have caught myself making a big mistake by being judgmental towards the men who fall for these ideas, because I realized they have been mistreated, they have been misled in the past, they have had experiences that have left them confused, hurt, lonely, sad, resentful. Now, that doesn't justify them falling into this trap to the extent where they start disrespecting and abusing others, which a lot of them do, at least verbally abusing, which we can see online. We can see online when a bunch of men who, it's obvious by their social media profiles that they are not necessarily leading the most fulfilling lives, but they give themselves the right to throw vicious insults, often disgusting insults, at women and minorities, just because, once again, they have fell for the narrative of the Sigma Mega Giga Masculinity Red Pill Black Pill podcast, bro. So what is the point? The point is to send a message to men and to tell them that there is no strength where you're looking. If by some miracle I get a chance to speak to those who have fell down the trap or into the trap, then I want to tell you, and for those of you who already agree with me, then please spread the message. There is no strength to be found in that direction. It's the biggest possible weakness, and the worst kind of weakness that doesn't seek to overcome itself and become strong. It's the weakness that has accepted that it will stay weak, so it heals itself, it copes. Nowadays the popular expression coping, copium. It's the weakness that has accepted its weakness and does not even hope to become strong and overcome itself. It copes and consoles itself by trying to make others weak and feeding weaknesses and insecurities of others instead of uplifting them. So I'm trying to how to phrase this message where I somehow encourage those weak people to actually rise up. And when I can, and when it's possible to interact with a member of a red pill or black pill community, when it's possible to interact in a civilized manner, I try to uplift them. I try to say, listen, whatever happened should not be a reason for you to hate all women and to hate and disrespect all men who respect women. I try to phrase it, and I have been trying to phrase it in a way where it does point to a better future for them. But we have to attack the big players. We have to attack those that, to be honest, I don't want to uplift. Also, I will not mention their names even in this video because I don't want to speak their names out loud. I will only share their pathetic faces maybe in the thumbnail or during the video, but we all know who I'm talking about. All of you have unfortunately been exposed even for a couple of seconds to a lot of those guys. Another thing that I actually want to hear from you is, depending on your position, how do you interact? If you're someone who agrees with me, how do you interact with a person who fell into the trap of this philosophy of weakness and resentment? How do you interact with them? Do you find it that sometimes you can uplift them and point them to a better future? And for those of you who have made it up to this point while not agreeing with me, well, you have my respect. You really have my respect. If you don't agree with me and you have made it up to this point, then I guess we have something in common. We want each other to do well in life. We want each other to at least not be disrespected. Then that's enough to call you my friend. That's enough for me to invite you for a discussion. Also in the comments, say why you don't agree with me. Say what did I get wrong about this. But my message for now remains that the philosophy of weakness in the modern age is most clearly seen in the red pill / black pill / sigma mega giga masculinity. That is, I'm sitting in a podcast room with a bunch of unfortunate women and humiliating them to get my ego boosted and to put other men down philosophy. Okay, big description of a philosophy, but I try to put everything into it. And once again, I know you know who and what I'm talking about. Be strong, not in the sense of forcing strength when you don't feel that you have strength, be strong in the sense of not defaulting to the ways of thinking and behaving in the world and attitudes that feed your tendency to reach into the most resentful parts of yourself while trying to pull others down. Don't do that. That's what it means to be strong. Resist the temptation to be resentful. Resist the temptation to be poisonous towards other humans in order to think or feel like you've risen up or rose up while they are going down. You have it in you to be stronger. Be strong or stay strong and resist the philosophy of weakness, because strong thinkers seek for strong opponents, which puts me in a troubling situation, right? I'm calling out weak thinkers. That would mean that I am not searching for strong opponents, which would be a fair criticism, but you know what I would say? I am attacking strong opponents in the sense of their audience counting in millions and millions and their influence and reach being immensely greater than mine. Therefore, the support and the backing that they get being immensely greater. So I will say that I'm still seeking strong opponents. Those individuals might be weak, but they have strength in numbers. So that's it right here. I'm calling myself strong because I'm seeking for strong opponents. I suggest you to do the same and reply in the comments on those couple of questions that I asked. Let's get the discussion going around philosophy of weakness versus the philosophy of strength and empowerment and love for humanity. Thank you.